Hey, everybody. Hi, Ann, Penny, Marianne. Good to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. We'll go ahead and give it another minute and allow time for notifications to go out and some other folks to join in the chat. I hope you're all doing well today. Let me know if anybody's hearing an echo on my side. Real quick, just a quick introduction. Welcome to Mountain Grandma's channel. I'm Mountain Grandma. My name is Tammy, and we're happy to have you here at our weekly Herbal Study Hall. Heather Gear-Greiden, good to see both of you guys. Hey, Betty, welcome, welcome. Happy to have you. So just a reminder on what to expect for this live. We have this every week. Every week, the goal is to cover one herbal concept, a herb of the week, and an herbal recipe. We do give out herbal assignments, but not grades. And occasionally, we will do a giveaway also. Ways that you can participate, and also just kind of mentioning this Herbal Study Hall is for beginner herbalists, experienced herbalists. Everybody's welcome here. And we recognize that herbalists kind of come to the whole herbal study session from different places. Maybe you started delving into herbs because you're working on your own healing or healing of family members and just trying to get healthier. Maybe it's from an educational path or culture, just family recipes that have been handed down, things like that. Everybody's welcome. And disclaimer, let me go ahead and do our disclaimer real quick. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, this live is for educational purposes only. I'm not a medical professional. Nothing shared here is meant to diagnose, treat, or replace medical advice from a qualified healthcare provider. Herbalism can be supportive to your health, but everybody's body, health history, they're all different and unique. So make sure that you speak with your doctor or another licensed professional before trying any new herbs, especially if you're pregnant, nursing, taking medications, or managing a medical condition. This space is all about learning, exploring traditions, and understanding plants, not giving personal medical advice. So with that being said, everybody grab your cup of tea and let's go ahead and kick off today's Herbal Study Hall session. And my first question is anybody else out there drinking tea with me? And if you are, what do you have in your cup? Today, I'm drinking holy basil. That's what I've got in my cup today, also called Tulsi tea. And also, I wanted to do a little bit of a recap from last week. And for those of you who didn't join, you can go catch that. Was lesson 2. And the herb of the week last week was ashwagandha. We shared a recipe with ashwagandha, long pepper, and like in a honey. And it's called an herbal paste. Okay, and Philbeck's drinking elderberry tea. Yum. That's fun because one of the herbal recipes I'm going to share tonight has elderberry in it. But here, I wanted to show you guys long pepper. Oops, sorry about that. So you can see over here in my pepper mill, these are regular peppercorns. This, I'll hold it above my forehead. This is a long peppercorn. So you can see why it's called long pepper. It's a long peppercorn. It's actually Piper longum is the Latin name for it. And I'm going to give you another, just before we get started, another recipe that you can try. And this is called, in Ayurveda, it's called a anti-mucus formula. And it's 1 part long pepper, 1 part black pepper, and 1 part ginger powder. And then you do that just like you did with the ashwagandha and the pepper in the honey and make a paste. You do that with those 3 ingredients, equal parts long pepper, black pepper, and ginger powder. And it's an anti-mucus powder, and it's pretty darn effective pretty quick. And I wanted to show you guys, if you make that recipe, this is what it looks like. See how it's staying in there? This is the ashwagandha and pepper with the honey. And then you just get a little teaspoonful out, but that's what it's going to look like. And when you do the pepper, obviously the color will be different, but it'll be the same kind of thing. Heather's drinking a Maui blend tea with elderberry syrup and cinnamon and honey. Yum. Betty's going to have lemon balm, chamomile, calendula, or calendula. Sorry, I always say that wrong. And tulsi. Awesome. And Penny is having hot lemon lemonade tea. Oh, your throat's been burning you. Okay. Well, we might talk about some things tonight that you're going to be interested in. One thing I'm excited about sharing tonight is that I've got some case studies for us to talk about. So let's see. I've got notes to make sure I stay on task. So the long pepper, black pepper, ginger powder, and honey, anti-mucus. It also treats coughs and sinuses. Like I even was reading in one book that if you're at a restaurant and nobody wants to hear anybody cough in a restaurant, right? You could even use some of the pepper packets, if worst case scenario, and some honey, and that would take care of your cough really quick. Like it works pretty quickly. Long term, it's an herb. You'd have to, to work on that. You'd have to take it more times. So anyways, hey, Tamara, good to see you. Tonight, we're going to be talking about herbal energetics. And I don't know if you see one of the things scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure if that's caught anybody's eye. It hasn't caught mine because I wasn't supposed to be sharing that yet, but there it is. Tonight, we are going to be talking about herbal energetics. And I want to kick us off with talking about, let's see if I can see that one's off. Okay. It's changing with me. You're going to see all these different ones that I have. There, finally. Okay. So I want to talk about herbal energetics. What are herbal energetics? I'm sure a lot of people have heard the term because it's kind of a thing these days. Hey, Jamie, thanks for coming. So herbal energetics describe not just, the temperature of an herb when it's cooked or something, but rather it describes the overall feel of an herb temperature wise. Think about like a cooling watermelon, and cayenne pepper obviously is a hot herb, right? But it describes the temperature, moisture, movement, that overall feel of the herb and how it influences the body and why it's important. And we're not going to get into all of those tonight. Some of the herbal energetics include not just temperature, which, hot and cold. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to really nerd out on that tonight. But it also talks about the moisture, damp versus dry. In Ayurveda, they actually look at that as oily versus dry. Also, like the tone. Is it relaxing or is it tonifying? The movement, is it grounding, nutritive, building? Is it dispersing? And the intensity, does it have a subtle effect or does it have a strong effect? So those are all of the different kinds of herbal energetics that you can have. And when I'm thinking of herbal energetics and when I'm filling out my monograph for herbs, and we went over that last week about monographs and what those look like. And tonight I'll be sharing one for Astragalus root. But when I'm doing that, I'm really thinking about temperature and moisture. Those are the main two things that I capture. But it does involve all these other things too. Now, to get started, I thought that we would talk about some warming herbs, some cooling herbs, and then also why those are important and when you would use them to treat somebody and when you might opt to use something else. So that's when we have case studies. I've got 4 case studies I'm going to present to you guys, and we're going to chat about those, and there's going to be a little bit of a quiz involved in that. No grades, everybody passes. So let me share this first banner. Let's talk about warm herbs first. Actually, before I share the banner, warm herbs, drop in the chat for me. Anybody that's in the chat, the first, don't use cayenne. I already used that one. Is there any other herbs you could think of when you think of warming herbs or hot herbs? What's the herbs that you think of? I know you can think of one. Perfect. Yes, cinnamon. Cinnamon is on the list of warming herbs. Anyone else want to give it a shot? Hey, Ark. Yes, absolutely. Ginger. Mm-hmm. Hey, Be Charming. Thank you guys for coming. Cumin. Maybe. That one might be. I don't think it's on my list that I'm going to share. Rosemary, thyme, ginger, cinnamon. Good job, Penny. All right, let me share the list. I've got a banner. Since my computer doesn't like it when I share my screen, I've found ways to get around this. All right, so warming herbs. It's going to keep scrolling so we can get back to the top of it here in just a minute, I think. There it goes. Okay. So ashwagandha. So the herbs that we've shared so far in this series, ashwagandha, ginger is on this list. There's astragalus. We're going to be talking about that tonight. Black pepper, cayenne, clove, damiana, elecampane, ginger, garlic, holy basil. So this tea I'm drinking probably explains why it sounded good to me because I'm cold. Licorice, nutmeg, oregano, rosemary, sage, thyme, turmeric. Obviously, there's a lot more. Horseradish is one. Kava kava, if anybody's heard of kava kava. That's another one. Did I have nutmeg in that list? I can't remember. Burdock, is it? I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking burdock might be cooling. Burdock is cooling, Anne. Hold on. There's another list that'll be coming up here in just a minute. Star anise is also warming. So there's a bunch of warming herbs. Now, hang on. We're going to shift this to our cooling herbs. Oh, I should have had you guys. Okay, I'm hiding it. We already talked about burdock root. Anybody have any ideas on some cooling herbs? Turkey tail tea. Oh, that's awesome, Mark. I've got reishi that I need to make some reishi coffee with, and I bought some chaga powder to put into that reishi coffee. Thinking reishi and chaga. It's going to be awesome. Mint. Yes, peppermint. Mm-hmm. Yep, those are cooling. All your mints, right? Spearmint, peppermint. Anyone else? Burdock root, whoever, Anne Philbeck, burdock root is actually cooling. Anybody else want to give a stab at it? Yes, aloe. Good one, Ark. Anyone else? All right, let me go ahead and share the banner for our cooling herbs. So here we go. Aloe, burdock root, calendula, catnip, which is, in the mint family. So that kind of makes sense. Oh, one of my words didn't have the end to it. You can see all of those here. As it scrolls back around, I'll continue reading it. Catnip, chamomile is cooling. Chickweed. I didn't have my D on the end of that word. Cleavers. Not sure if that, I can only fit so many words, so I couldn't put them all. Dandelion, elderberry, hibiscus, lavender, lemon balm, marshmallow, mullein. Mullein is a cooling herb, which is important to note because it's used for coughs a lot. And we'll be talking about that in a minute. Nettle, plantain, rose, skullcap, and yarrow. Yep, Penny had these. Stevia, yep. Stevia would be cooling too. And some of these, we intuitively know this, right? Don't you you can kind of feel it, even thinking about drinking them. It's going to be cooling. Violet leaf is another one, which I haven't had a lot of experience with violet leaf. So that one's not necessarily so intuitive for me. Red clover. And did plantain fit? Because plantain's another one. Also meadowsweet. I'm only allowed to put so many letters in the banner, so some of these I couldn't fit in there. Lemon verbena is another cooling one. Yep, chamomile. Awesome. Okay, now with that thought in mind, I want to talk about health conditions. You've ate the flowers of, so hey Mona, thanks for coming. So ARC, so you probably feel like intuitively you would have known that if that would fall in the cooling category more than the heating category, probably, since you ate that one. Master forager is what ARC well is. An herbalist. So the next thing I want to talk about is cold versus heat when we're talking about indications, like health indications. So in herbal energetics, cold signs indicate, a lack of warmth within the body. And there's different cold signs and there's different heat signs. And when herbalists are treating a patient or, family member, what have you, with herbs, they try to select herbs that are most appropriate for that person's body state. So in other words, warming herbs for cold signs and cooler herbs for signs where there might be signs of body heat. And we don't mean that in terms of everybody's got some body heat, but when we talk about heat in terms of, sickness. So let me share real quick. Can anybody take a wild guess at what some of the cold signs someone might display if they have something, an illness or imbalance that's on the cold side? Anyone want to take a guess as to one symptom they might have? And I'm not going to give any suggestions because some of them could be. Fever would actually be a heat sign. Tamara, seems to me cooling herbs grow better in cooler weather and warm herbs vice versa. Am I wrong? Anybody want to try to answer that? Where's my gardeners? Anne? Yes, chills. That is one. Anybody else want to take a stab before I share the banner? I might be talking about a concept that's not often spoken about. Calmness. Yep. Penny. Yep. Fatigue. Lethargy. Just not really having much energy. All right, let me go and pull the banner for that one. And we will look at some cold signs. So here you see pale complexion, feeling chilly or cold. This is going to be somebody who wants to put on a jacket. And if they're not sick, it doesn't mean that they don't have signs of cold. So that when you talk about maintaining balance within the body, you're not always necessarily talking about a sickness. Hey, Jan. But if somebody has a sign of cold, they're that person in the room, the only one in the room who might have a jacket on when nobody else does. If they're on the ill side, they could be displaying chills. They could also have slow digestion, be bloated. You're going to see overall hindered metabolic activity. So somebody who says they have a slow metabolism, that's a sign of cold. It could also be loose, watery stools, fatigue, a measured decrease in body temperature, somebody whose body temperature is running below normal. We talked about preference for warmth, cold hands and feet. Hey, Linda, thanks for coming. And if anybody isn't aware, Linda over at Another Time has another channel called Skill a Minute. Go check her out. She's giving like every day she posts like extra tips and things. It's really cool. Also, signs of cold would be that person who has clear but copious amounts of urine. So they're going to the bathroom a lot, but it's clear. And that person's also going to have a desire for hot drinks over cold drinks. And now I'm going to throw a concept in out there that a lot of people don't necessarily hear about. And that is the condition of your tongue. And I'm not going to share my tongue with you or anything tonight. But if you look at your own tongue and your family member's tongue or whoever is ill, investigate that like the doctors used to do in the old days with the tongue compressor. A very white coat with a pale or purplish body to the tongue indicates a cold symptom. That indicates internal coldness. And this person would also have a pulse that is slow. And can you guys do me a favor at this point? I know this is something that might be a little different than maybe what you've heard before. Can you drop a 1 in the chat if you feel like I'm explaining this well, or present me with a question? I just want to make sure that the way that I'm going through this is making sense to y'all. Thank you, Jamie, for sharing that. Hey, Rebecca, good to see you. Grit and Grace, hello, thanks for coming. Happy to have you. Welcome to Herbal Study Hall. We're all over here trying to get smarter. Thank you, Anne. All right, now I am going to move on to heat signs. Oh, I almost did it again. Before I move on to heat signs, and these are indications of heat that will be in the physical body. Can anybody take a stab at guessing what some signs of heat are? I will give you a hint. If you look at the ticker going across the bottom that shows cold signs, just think about what the opposite would be. And see if you, yes, a rash. Perfect. Yep. Yep, a rash would be a sign of heat. Temperature. Yep, that's right. A high temperature. Or just even elevated beyond what's normal for that person. Anyone else? Yep, sweats. What about color? Anything about color? Blood pressure could indicate heat. It's an increase in pressure. That's okay, Linda. Pale would actually be a cold sign. Yes, Tamara, a red tongue with a yellow coating instead of a white coating. Yeah. The color, think red. You could see it in their face. Let me go ahead and share that banner now. I think you guys are really getting this good. Here we go. So here's our heat signs: red and flushed skin, feeling hot or overheated. Have you ever watched maybe a video of like the politicians in a room or something, and you see this one person who's just like chugging this water, and they're getting really red in the face, and that person is getting way overheated. They're having some heat signs there. Also, rapid digestion. Notice that that's on there. Just like for the cold signs, you've got slower digestion and slow metabolism. With somebody who has heat signs, you've got rapid digestion. You could also have heartburn. And with that person, you could have dry, hard stools, restlessness, agitation, increase in body temperature, A preference for cold drinks. So they want their tea on ice. And they would also have, they could have hot hands and feet. There's a thing called 5-palm heat where they'll be real hot on their palms, hot on the bottom of their feet, and hot in their chest. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, Penny. You take care. No worries. Thank you so much. And condolences to you and her family. Also dark, scanty urine. So in other words, it's going to be, this person's not been drinking enough liquids probably. That's what it's going to look like, right? And the tongue, as we mentioned earlier, it's going to have a yellow tongue coat on it and a reddened tongue body. And the pulse is going to be rapid. So those are all of our heat signs. Now, are you guys ready to talk about a case study with these concepts considered? And I don't have it on a banner. Let me hide this. I don't think I can share my notes here. Yeah, it won't let me. Okay. I'm going to read off a case study to you guys, and I'll share the books that all of this information that I'm presenting here, I'll share the books that I use this time around for you. All right, first patient. We've got Becca, and she is hot. She's feverish. She's having a difficulty sleeping at night. She craves lots of cold liquids. And at night, her head becomes damp and she throws off her covers. She has a cough, and her cough is characterized by a thick, dry, tenacious green phlegm, and she has to cough a whole lot to get any of it to come up. What do you guys think? What do you think she's experiencing? Do we see hot symptoms or do we see cold symptoms? Anybody want to give it a try? Heat or cold? Drop your best guess in the chat. Jan's cutting to the chase right there. She's got a respiratory infection. Arc says hot. Be charming and Philbeck, heat. Yep, you guys nailed it. And to just kind of, we're going to talk about a couple other energetics here. And this is in the assessment that was provided in the book. But it says, this is an example of heat with excess. Her cough is the heat type. So therapy provided would be one that clears heat, relieves the thirst, calms the coughing, and loosens the phlegm. She has an excess condition, and she should be able to tolerate a strong treatment without herbs to provide tonification. So basically here, the primary goal is to treat the symptoms. Treat what you're seeing. All right, you ready for the next one? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Otherwise, feel free to ask questions. Yep, marshmallow. And something else. Just one comment, when you're thinking of your cooling herbs and your warming herbs, you can't always combine them if one's hot, but you really want the medicinal quality of that, and you feel like this person might benefit from a cooler herb, well, don't just give them one herb, give them a couple of herbs and, make sure that they're cooling all together, because they're going to have the synergy working together, right? Okay, next one. This patient we're calling David, and David is pale. He's listless with cold and clammy hands and feet. His arms and legs are sore. He craves warmth. He wants to be under tons of blankets, and he's desiring warm drinks over cold drinks. He sleeps a lot during the day and at night, and he has a cough. His cough is characterized by easy expectoration with large amounts of clear, colorless phlegm. What do you guys think? Hot or cold? Hey, Robin, good to see you. Hot or cold? Anyone want to give it a shot? Yep, you got it, Ark. That's right, B. This is cold. And let me read you what the assessment says. It says David's condition is one of weakness and fatigue. So when we described him as being listless, that's a sign of deficiency. And it's another form of energetics. We're not getting into excess and deficient today, but just know that's a sign of another energetic. And his cough is a cold type of cough. So in general, your cold type coughs are treated by methods that will stimulate circulation, perspiration, and expectoration. So because there's weakness or deficiency present, the treatment should avoid being overstimulating and be complemented with a strengthening or tonifying therapy to help replenish the chi. I'm giving you a little bit of TCM language here. So this one, we are also treating symptoms, but we need to make sure that we aren't giving him anything too strong. And we need to make sure that there's some kind of tonifying therapy in there. All right. Hey, Troy Sutton, good to see you. Thanks for coming. All right. Are we ready for the next one? Give me a thumbs up if y'all are ready, or if you have questions, let me know. Did the deficiency in chi part, is that? Well, maybe as these classes go on, we can talk about that and it'll be more clear. All right. Thank you for the thumbs up. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, our next patient, her name is Jenny, and she was sick with a fever, but she no longer has a fever. But for several weeks now, she's had a hacking cough at night, and she seems tired and restless during the day. She complains that her throat is dry and scratchy, and her lips are red and parched. When offered drinks, she's not interested in drinking anything. When she does cough, there's little phlegm, and it is sometimes tinged with blood. Anybody want to drop any thoughts in the chat as to what's going on there? Heat or cold? Anybody want to say pneumonia? Jesus, this girl's getting pneumonia. But we aren't thinking in Western medical terms, right? We're just looking from heat and cold perspective. I see heat and cold up. For you that answered heat, you are correct. So in Jenny's situation, the red lips, the dry throat, those indicate the fever has actually consumed her body fluids. Mind you, we're looking at this from like, your TCM or other perspectives, right? Think of it in terms of that. So she did have a fever, and now she's really dry. Remember, she's got the chapped lips. She has a lack of thirst, though, and she has that along with fatigue, and that's indicating that her body is really weak. And the weakness in her body is preventing her from fully recovering. Her cough is the deficient heat type. And this heat isn't coming from a fever, but rather a lack of moisture and a dissipation of the chi. So therapy for Jenny is aimed at restoring moisture and increasing chi. Marshmallow will do that. Elecampane, where is that with increasing chi? Maybe. I think elecampane's I think that's a good one, Anne, what you put there. I think that's a good combo. Anybody else have any thoughts on what she shared? And I probably should say, I don't know that I've really talked about what chi is before. And for anybody who hasn't studied any TCM, I'm gonna do my best. Hey, Nancy, good to see you. So we all have blood flowing through our veins, right? And we know we have lymph that moves in our body too. Well, we also have chi, which is considered like the life force that flows through your body. And you could think of it as flowing through the same channels. And if you've ever seen pictures of, maybe I'll show it at the next class, pictures of the meridians that acupuncturists study, they're kind of studying where the chi is flowing. And that's why there's the belief that all of our whole body's all connected. So that's what the chi is. Just, I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole too much, but when we talk about the dispersing of chi, we mean that things aren't flowing like they're supposed to. The energy is not flowing like it's supposed to. And when somebody's sick and they're in a weakened state, they don't have the moisture throughout their body, and they also don't have the energy flowing through their body like they should. And that's preventing them from getting completely well. All right, you ready for the next one? Give me a thumbs up. All right, our next patient is Alex. And Alex had a cold several weeks earlier without a fever. So he just had a little cold. He recovered from the cold, but the last few days he has a cough in the morning and that causes a rattle in his chest. And he also has been having loose bowel movements. He seems sensitive to the cold. He gets goosebumps really easy. And he wants to really bulk up with like extra sweaters and things when nobody else is. He's also lost his appetite completely. And when he coughs, it's a lot of what's described as frothy, gelatinous mucus, especially in the morning. He ate Taco Bell. You're so funny. And you're 100% right about gut health. I'm with you on that. So what do you guys think of Alex? Do you think that he's displaying signs of heat or signs of cold? Heat or cold? Tell me what you think. Mm-hmm. And ARC is 4 for 4. It is cold. Yep. And here is, according to the book, what it says about treatment for Alex. Following a perceived recovery from a cold, Alex's cough returned. This indicated that full recovery never really happened. But what did happen was that the cold actually moved deeper into Alex's body. The combined symptoms of being cold, the loose stools, the loss of appetite, all point to a weakened metabolism and resistance. When metabolic fire is deficient, and there we're talking about like your gut health, right? Your metabolic fire is deficient. The interior becomes cold and moisture tends to congeal. The phlegm occurring in the morning is at the time of day when the body's metabolism is at its lowest and the external environment is also the coolest. So, treatment for Alex would focus on warming the body, stimulating the metabolism in order to eliminate the cold and dissipate the phlegm. So warming the body, stimulating metabolism in order to eliminate the cold and dissipate the phlegm. I would almost think drying too, like maybe to dry him out. But it's interesting that she didn't say that. And I'll tell you whose book this is from. She didn't put that in there, but I would think he would need drying herbs as well, right? Like warming and drying herbs. But anyway, it's this book, if you could read that because of the light. There we go. It's called Between Heaven and Earth, A Guide to Chinese Medicine by Harriet Beinfeld and Ephraim Korngold. So that's the book that I pulled these case studies out of. Was that fun? Anybody have any questions? I'll see if I can't get case studies for us every week. I may and may not be able to do that. Okay. All right. So I am going to now move on to, thank you, Heather. Thank you all. I'm going to now move on to our herb of the week. And our herb of the week is Astragalus. And let's see if I can share my screen without freezing up this time. I don't know if I'm just doing it wrong or if it's computer memory or what, but bear with me and we'll see if I can make this happen. Hold on. Okay, am I frozen? Oh, I don't think I'm frozen. Awesome. Okay. So here is, and I tried to zoom it in for you guys. Let's see what you're seeing. Hold on. Oh, let me see. If I can get it all on one screen. There we go. Is that better? I have to look at my phone to see the chat though. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. All right. Can you all see my screen? Looks like it's kind of, it's not letting you see it. There we go. All right, I think you can see it better. Okay, this is our herb of the week. Astragalus, also called Wang Qi in Chinese medicine. It literally means yellow leader, and that's the name that it has because of its golden root and its status as a top tonic herb in TCM. And I've got a couple of pictures here. You can see the root. You can see how it grows. It's in the Fabaceae family, which is the same family as beans, peas, clover, and licorice. This helps to explain the fact that it's got a sweet flavor and the nature of it being a root tonic. Because if you think of those things, they're all good protein, like the beans, the peas, they're good proteins, right? Moving on to the botanical description, it will grow 2 to 4 feet tall, and it has a long, yellow, and fibrous root. You can see from the pictures, the stems are upright and they're slightly hairy, has the pinnate leaves with 12 to 18 leaves, giving it a fern-like appearance. And the flowers are like little yellow pea-like blossoms that grow in loose clusters. And it forms, likewise, small pod-like legumes, kind of like your pea plant does, but it does look more herby. It grows in zones 5 to 9, and it's a perennial. If you're in 5 to 9. If not, then, you can grow it every year, I guess. It prefers well-drained, sandy or loamy soil, moderate watering while young, but drought-tolerant. And I like the drought-tolerant part. You got to space it 12 to 18 inches apart. It says it's hard to establish, and is looked at more as a 3-year harvest. When I did my research, that was what I found. And when you're starting seeds for astragalus root, it requires scarification for better opportunity for growth. And that just means you got to nick the seeds a little bit to encourage the growth of this guy. The part used is the root. I don't know if it does grow wild, Jan. I suppose it could. I mean, I'd like for it to grow wild in my forest. I'm hoping. I'm thinking maybe I'll try to plant this one out there and see what happens. Anything that's drought tolerant, to me, that's game on for trying to get this to grow outside of my garden bed, for sure. Constituents. So it's loaded with polysaccharides and flavonoids and all of those usual things. Vitamins and minerals. It has amino acids and trace minerals, including GABA and some other ones. And those help contribute to its nourishing building quality. The energetics. So we saw that this was on the list of warming herbs, and it's also moistening, sweet flavor. And we might be doing a lesson about the tastes and flavors of herbs, because you can gain a lot of knowledge about an herb. Not that everybody needs to go out eating, rando herbs that you find in the woods and whatnot. I am not proposing that. But I think that it's great to understand the connection between the flavor or taste of an herb and the actions of an herb. So anyways, moving on. Sweet taste and flavor and the actions. And this is pulling from a couple of different books here, and I'll show those to you. It's an adaptogen, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, diuretic, hypotensive, and immune amphoteric. Western herbalism looks at it as the adaptogen immune modulator, tonic for long-term vitality and resilience. TCM language here, it tonifies spleen qi, raises yang qi, strengthens your wei qi, which is your defensive qi. Your wei qi is just your qi that you're somebody who can resist getting sick. They're not going to catch every cold that comes along if they've got strong wei qi. It promotes tissue regeneration. It's a mild diuretic, and it benefits both the lung and the spleen in TCM. In Ayurvedic medicine, it's not used traditionally in Ayurveda, but it would be considered much like a rasayana, which is a rejuvenative herb, similar to ashwagandha or guduchi. And it may be used or combined with herbs such as ashwagandha or guduchi, shatavari, or licorice for recovery after stress, illness, or overwork, for weakened immunity or seasonal imbalance, low energy fatigue, and to support healthy aging. So let me catch up, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Yes, it would be nice if it did, Jan. Wild arugula, also known as wild market. Oh yeah, I'm actually growing arugula. Energetics in my hydroponics. They are not wild right now. I would love wild arugula. Tricks only come from God. Not that you can do anything even in the wilderness. The water flows. You cannot live in burning. Amen to that. Amen to that. Overall, fatigue, weak immunity, frequent colds, qi deficiency with edema, loose stools, chronic non-healing sores, healthy aging, to support lung and digestive health. Safety considerations. I'm going to point this one out. Do not use during active external invasion. Ask me how I know. I know about that. I actually did that when I was sick once. I thought, I'm going to take Astragalus. It's a great immune booster. And I was, I had my cold a little longer than I cared to. And I suspect that that's why. So make sure you do your research before you start taking herbs, because, even if it's just a cold thing, you don't want to have a cold longer than you need to. Hang on. I think there's one other thing I want to mention. So let's see here. Now I am in this book. I know the light's on, but there we go. Adaptogens. This is by David Winston. I attended one of his conferences on this too, and it was great. Okay. This says, in TCM, tonic herbs such as astragalus are not taken when someone has an acute infectious illness such as colds, flu, bronchitis, or pneumonia, because it is believed to cause stagnation and feed the illness. In reality, if astragalus is indicated for a person, small amounts as part of a larger formula would not cause a problem. But if you're just taking astragalus, that could, cause issues. Herb-drug interactions. Animal and human studies show that this herb enhances the effects of recombinant interleukin-2 and recombinant interferon alpha-1 and alpha-2 immunotherapy. So if you're on any immunotherapy, or somebody, if you're thinking of this for someone else, you got to talk to the doctor, do your own research. It's supposed to reduce side effects and enhance effects of other types of chemotherapy and radiation therapy. Again, make sure you talk to the doctor about that. Theoretical concern about astragalus as an immune potentiator along with immunosuppressive medications. However, because it is an immune amphoteric rather than immune stimulant, it's unlikely to pose a significant risk. So, wanted to make sure I read that to you guys. And moving on to preparation type, dosage frequency, standard decoction, 1 to 3 cups daily. Does everybody here know what a decoction is? Anybody? So it's like what it is that it's different from an infusion in a sense because you have to simmer your roots. An infusion, you like boil the water and you pour over leaves. If ever you have something that has roots in it, they probably need to be decocted versus just infused, which means that you usually you simmer them. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's try this again. See if that works. I try to take myself off camera when that happens. All right. I'm hoping we don't have the same problems we had last time. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay. All right. So that is what a standard decoction is. And so standard decoction, 1 to 3 cups daily. Dried root tincture, 2 to 4 milliliters 3 times daily. Glycerite, 10 to 20 milliliters. That's a lot. That feels like such a lot. I wouldn't. Syrup of dried root, 2 to 3 teaspoons. I've put astragalus root in my bone broth, and it's a great addition to a bone broth. You could also take it by capsule or powder. Just to note that it's often paired with herbs like dongshen, beiju, fengfeng, or dongui. And those are Chinese herbs, obviously, I guess. There are some non-clinical trials that are out there about the role of adaptogenic herbs in stress management and immune support. It's a major anti-stress herb for somebody who is dealing with a lot of stress, and it just helps their body basically control, their stress response. And here's that TCM formula, Jade Windscreen is it's called. This is a famous formula, including astragalus, atractalodes, which is the beiju, and then fengfeng. And this is used for lung qi vacuity. Now, let me quit sharing for a second. All right, I'm going to now, it is time to share the recipe of the week. And I'm with you, Red 3. I am so thankful that God gave us all of these herbs. We have been blessed. He gave us a planet with all of these herbs and everything that we need. But of course, we need Him above all. All right, herbal recipe time. This is for an herbal syrup. And the ingredients are elderberry, 1 part elderberry, 1 part astragalus, and a 1/2 part cinnamon. And maybe I can try to share this on my screen if it doesn't freeze up on you guys. Let me scroll for you. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Looks like we're going to be finishing just in time, I think. All right. Uh-oh. There we go. Can you guys see the screen? Thank you, Tamara. All right. There it is. So 1 part elderberry, 1 part astragalus. What I used was 1 ounce of each. Oh, I should have, darn it, I meant to show it to you. We're making syrup. That's what we're making. So 1 part elderberry, 1 part astragalus. I did ounce. So my parts were ounces. So 1 ounce of each of those and a half an ounce of cinnamon chips. And I decocted those. And then you can see the instructions there if you guys want to screenshot and then zoom in. I added 1 quart of distilled water, simmered very low and slow until the amount equals roughly half of what you start with. When you pour off your mixture and measure that out, you should equal about 400. Oh, thank you, honey. About 400 to 500 milliliters. You'll set aside your mark, which is just the herbs and, the herbs that you had in the pot. And then add the liquid back to the pot. Put in twice as much sugar as there is liquid. So if you have 400 milliliters of liquid, you're going to add 800 milliliters of sugar. And then just simmer on low until the consistency has the thickness that you prefer. And I keep this in the refrigerator in jars. The grandbabies love it. And you can see it here. So it's an elderberry syrup, but the little tweak to it is that it has the astragalus and the cinnamon in here too. So you got 2 recipes tonight. You got the anti-mucus formula that was the paste, and you've got the elderberry astragalus root syrup. And just another tip, I'm telling you, I think I even did a short on it once where I was making my bone broth and I just put some astragalus root in there. It does not have a bad flavor. It will last about 3 to 6 months. Well, thanks for coming, Red 3. Appreciate you. All right. So I said I was going to share all the books, and I think I have. So you saw this one, and then the Adaptogens one by David Winston. And the other one that I used was Herbal Medicine from the Heart of the Earth by Sharon Tilliger, Indy. All right, and we are finishing just in time. Do you guys have any questions before we end? All right, well, thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate you. Oh, your herbal assignment this week? This is an easy one. Go do some herby stuff. Really think about starting your own monographs. I know you know your herbs, but the herbs that you do know, you might find that you learned something new just putting that monograph together. So thank you all again, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.